I'm Jordan Hatfield. This is Faster Film Critic. Today on the show, we talk Thunderbolts with Kolter, Chase Fugel, and Dawson Thomas. Thunderbolts is a 2025 superhero film directed by Jake Schreier, starring Florence Pugh, Sebastian Stan, and Julia Louis-Dreyfus. This is the 36th film in the MCU, and I'm starting to sound like a sixth grader on a road trip. Is it over yet? 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 Get in! We're going cinephiling. Gentlemen, how are we doing today?
Good. Yeah, glad to be here.
Yeah. What?
Can you hear me? Good morning, Kolter.
What's going on? What's going on,
You guys
fellas?
ready to talk Thunderbolts?
What do you?
Kolter, it doesn't sound like you're ready.
I don't know. 36
Uh-oh.
goddamn Marvel movies, man.
You're burnt out on the Marvel?
Who isn't?
Wait, I thought you were representing the Marvel fan group here.
Well,
I thought you were the Marvel guy.
I was purposely leading it down the wrong road. I actually kind of like this movie.
Good. That's what I expected, Kolter. Now we've settled back into reality.
Yeah.
Dawson, what do you think of Thunderbolts?
I am someone who just kind of likes all the Marvel movies. I'm not saying they're like my most favorite 5-star movies, but anyone I watch, I'm like, okay, I'm having fun. Like, this is chill. It's a good 2 hours. I would say this one I like more than most.
Yeah.
What's your favorite all-time Marvel movie? What's the best of the best of the best?
My favorite one for like the MCU would probably be Infinity War,
Yes.
which maybe is like a
Okay.
super basic
Yeah.
answer, but I like it.
I
I think it's fun.
No, that's
yeah.
a good answer.
Dude, when that came out, that was crazy.
Yeah.
Did you go and see that one in the theater, Jordan? Even though you're not a Marvel guy?
I was burned out on Marvel
No.
long before Infinity War.
Oh no.
That's one you need to experience in the theater.
Yeah, for sure.
Opening day.
Yep.
Is that also your favorite, Kolter?
It's kind of a hell of a thing to culminate 10 years worth of interconnected stories that integrate so many characters with decent
Yeah.
stakes and a really good, well-written bad guy who actually wins at the end of that movie, man. So it was a hell of a feat. It was a very unique cinematic achievement.
So, Kolter, I know you're a big fan of Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
How do you feel about Bucky Barnes and his role in Thunderbolts?
You know, I like that his character was introduced, at least in an action sense, and he was treated as a hero when he came on scene.
Yeah.
This is, obviously not referring to the scenes he had prior to that, but it did feel like he was a little sleepwalky through this, maybe. Had some good bits of humor, and I think this group of characters, they managed to take characters from Disney Plus shows that either few people watched or remembered and somehow kind of made them work, with the exception of Taskmaster.
Who's Taskmaster?
Exactly.
The one who doesn't make it more than like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Taskmaster was the character similar to Ghost.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Do they even say her name in the movie? I don't think they do.
I don't think so either.
So back to Bucky Barnes, I got a hot take on Sebastian Stan.
Oh.
Okay.
He's loved in this universe, am I right?
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, he's a fan favorite.
Yeah, he's a fan favorite. He does not work for me. I do not like his character. I do not like Sebastian Stan's portrayal of Bucky.
Okay.
That's crazy.
I just don't like him.
Just in this or in general?
In general, I think he's weak.
Oh.
He's one of the few Marvel characters, and I'm like, okay, yeah, like, I like this guy.
I think Sebastian Stan is a good actor.
He is.
I just don't like his acting in this universe.
Okay. What is it about his acting you don't like?
Well, so admittedly, Sebastian Stan has been given an impossible task. The writing around his character is really lame.
Okay.
I mean, he's Captain America's friend, and then he becomes the enemy, and then he becomes the good guy, and then he becomes a politician. It's like, what? Like, it doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
Do you think the writing of his character is any weaker than any other character in the movies or the universe?
No, but he bugs me more than other characters in the universe. Now you can see why I'm not a Marvel fan.
Okay.
I mean, if I'm going to hate what everyone else loves, like, of course, I'm just not going to be a Marvel guy. But let me tell you this, guys. When we did Captain America Brave New World, I promised I wasn't going to be too negative, and I dominated the conversation with my negativity. And every time I was like, I'm going to stop, and I just kept going.
Sure.
So I'm really, really going to try to take a back seat on this film and let those in this group who love Marvel and the Thunderbolts do most of the talking.
Okay.
Can you admit that Thunderbolts is way better than Captain America Brave New World?
Oh, yeah.
I did like it better than Brave New World, but I'm at a point where they're all the same to me. So, I didn't get quite as bored here, but it felt like the same film again. I will say there's a couple things about this movie that I did like, and I really liked the humor, particularly in the first 15 minutes. The first 15 minutes of Thunderbolts I thought was really good. I think that Florence Pugh is a fantastic actress.
She is.
And she leads this cast of characters.
Yeah.
And her ability to portray emotion and suck you in is unlike any other actor in this film. And
She also doesn't, she's not like the other big actors who feel like they're tied to these Marvel characters.
Yeah.
Like, she's a great actor outside of the MCU.
Yes.
she's a great actress all around. And I enjoyed her character here. I felt like she was clearly the best actor in this movie.
Huh.
I really like her. By the way, did you know that she did her own stunt in this film?
Yeah.
She really jumps off that high rise.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What?
Second
Yeah.
tallest building in the world. Yes.
Second
Wow.
tallest, but she wanted to jump off it. Disney said absolutely not.
Yeah.
And she just kept pushing and kept pushing and kept pushing until they deleted it out of the script. They were like, leave us alone. We're deleting this out of the script because we don't want you to do it.
If you want to do it so bad, we just won't do it. No one's doing it.
And then they came back and were like, okay. So she really jumped off the building. I thought that was really cool.
That's
It was.
Yeah.
I don't want to continue to look. Let me tell you this. I'm sitting in the movie theater on opening night, packed. Man, the theater is full,
Yeah.
and just a row up from me to the right, there's these group of guys that are probably mid 40s, maybe late 40s. They were so into this movie. They were yelling and screaming and whistling and hooting and hollering. I thought they were going to pull out chickens and start throwing popcorn around the theater. Like these guys were into it. They were clapping and they were laughing and they were doing the whole bit. And on one hand, I was so embarrassed for them. And on the other hand, I was so jealous of them because they were just into it, right?
Having
They
a
were
good time.
into it. And I don't want to yuck someone else's yum. I'm going to sit back and I'm going to listen to you guys talk about why you love this universe and why Thunderbolts is great.
I think you're just jealous of everybody who likes Marvel.
A little bit. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie. A little bit. I am. I wish I had that kind of passion for this universe. But
What about David Harbour? What did all of you guys think about that? He kind of
Yeah.
came in towards the end. He's the comedic relief.
Definitely.
Red Guardian, he was my second favorite character in the film.
Second favorite.
He was my second
Okay.
favorite. He works for me too.
Yeah.
He was really funny.
I really like Red Guardian. I love Black Widow. I think that's one of my favorite
Yeah.
Marvel movies. And I like Yelena's
really?
character in Hawkeye, like things like that. And so
Okay.
seeing both of them together back on the screen was super fun for me. I like their dynamic a lot because she's really not his daughter. I'm pretty sure in
didn't
Black
even know
Widow,
that.
he's like a spy who like kidnapped her and then she had to go through the Red Room and everything like that. And so they have a really interesting relationship and a lot of like the issue she has that's explored in this movie. A lot of it is because of him and like him kidnapping her and like starting her on this journey to be an assassin. And so watching him have to navigate that a little bit because he's had kind of a like, I don't know, for lack of a better term, like a come to Jesus moment, right? Of being like, shouldn't have lived like that, shouldn't
Yeah.
have done that for like the Soviet Union and things like that. And so to see how much that affects her, because he really does love her and treats her like his daughter,
Yeah.
I think was interesting to play out on the big screen and to him try to like help her and navigate her through it and be like, you need to become a hero. Like you need to do stuff for like the public, I think was really cool. Like to see him as a mentor because a lot of Black Widow, he struggles and he's kind of embarrassing. And in this movie, he still is kind of embarrassing and kind of funny,
Yeah.
but he has like really good insight,
Yeah.
has lived a life really similar to Yelena. So I like that a lot.
Have you seen Black Widow, Chase?
No, I didn't.
How about the Disney Plus shows? Dawson, I assume you watch all the Disney Plus shows, yeah?
Clocking in every
Okay.
time.
Okay. Fair
Yeah.
enough. But Chase, not
No,
so
I
much.
missed those. I saw the terrible CGI shot from Black Widow, and that was it.
Yeah, fair
The one of
enough.
Florence Pugh. I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know.
but-
Yeah, she's on top of that like smokestack thing and it explodes. Yes,
Yeah.
that's like practically a meme. Yeah, I mean David Harbour, man. I mean he's often kind of cast in these larger than life. You know, he's often the kind of comedic relief, but he also
Yeah.
serves as a big piece of the heart in this movie. And there was some unexpected kind of sentiment. It might be laid on a little thick here and there, but the chemistry between him and Florence Pugh is palpable and it works. And it serves as a nice, at the right moments, a nice kind of counterbalance to what she's going through, and which is tough. I mean, I think the reason why I like this movie is it's one part, a return to the more humor-laden kind of adventures of Marvel old, but it's also a story of trauma and redemption, and it was kind of refreshing to see some deeper character development for a change instead of just mindless green screen kind of rushed, reshot crap that we've kind of been getting, and kind of poorly conceived movies that you can tell they were just kind of riding on wisps of wind from prior success, whereas this was much more deliberate and kind of calculated and well written and well balanced. And
I do appreciate the attempt to inject some emotional complexity in this film relative to other Marvel movies. And I absolutely agree that the relationship between Red Guardian and Yelena works really well. This was my favorite part of this movie.
Yeah.
Speaking of emotional complexity, what did you guys think of Lewis Pullman in this film?
Who's that?
Bob Reynolds, man. He's Bob. He's the Void.
Oh, yeah.
He's Sentry. He's like 3 different people in this movie, all at the same time.
True.
What did you guys think of him? Nobody? Okay, I'll tell you what I think of him.
Yeah.
Florence Pugh betrays so much emotion in her scenes. At the beginning, she's depressed, she's sad, and you see it so clearly. Then you get Bob, Lewis Pullman, and he is supposed to be Mr. Depressed. Am I right? Isn't he like Mr. Depression in this movie?
Mr. Depression.
That's-
/ Mr. Conflicted, I think. Might be better.
He didn't portray that. I mean, you contrast his portrayal of sadness to Florence Pugh's portrayal of sadness, and it's night and day. One is pro, the other is first-year film student.
I thought he was good as an actor. I think the screenplay was pretty bad.
Yeah.
It was hard to respect. I wanted to see some silence, some anguish, not just, I can't control that part of myself.
That ties exactly to my biggest gripe with the movie. I like most of it. Most of it is awesome. Yelena is one of my most favorite characters. But with Bob and his character and things like that, I don't know if it's because it was Disney, but I felt like they never got too deep or too dark with it because the way it's kind of set up is it's almost The Boys-esque, right? Of you're manufacturing a superhero and you see they have designs on what color hair would the public respond best to.
Yeah.
This is the logo and the perfect outfit, right? Like it's very like manufactured. Like how can we literally create like the perfect superhero? And so if they would have delved more into that and maybe in like a darker way or things like that, because even when we go to like the trauma spaces, like the dad yells at the mom or he says he hates his son. Like, okay, true. But a lot of Marvel characters have that. Like that's not very unique.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if it's because it was Disney and they had to like make it a little bit happier, but I think even like an R cut or something of this movie that really is more like, wow, like this guy has suffered or something like this. Or when he turns into the Void, like he really is crazy. Like when the little girl like disappears into black like that, like that was like, oh my gosh, what is this is crazy. And like more of those kinds of moments for his character, I think would have been really cool. It maybe would have made like the part where they're all like hugging or like trying to pull him out of it less cornball. I don't know. For me, like when they're all hugging, like I like got the sentiment of it, but a little bit of me was like, wow, like magic and friendship and just you know what I mean? And like, you know what I mean? Like I was like, oh dang it, like that kind of bugs me just a little bit.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Yeah, that's probably my biggest gripe with the whole movie. I love the rest of it, all of it.
Yeah, the transition to the Void there were some opportunities I think they missed there. The character of the Void itself, I thought was maybe one of the most visually interesting villains. But I think you guys are spot on. Like Florence Pugh's Yelena is the grounded human kind of realistic depiction of depression and trauma and kind of being in pain and just feeling empty and alone. And the Void was kind of used as more of this manifestation of that in kind of a visual way that didn't quite hit. And Lewis Pullman, I thought for what he was directed to do and what he was written to do, did a really good job. I mean, the things like uncertainty read really well in his face and the lack of confidence read well.
Yeah, agreed.
But what didn't is he kept kind of saying, oh, it was a meth head. You didn't really get the sense. I think they were relying too much on the implication that he didn't remember necessarily what had been done to him or what he went through. And so they leaned on that too much and kind of, I think those two characters were supposed to be more similar in terms of what kind of they were going through than we read as an audience, I think.
I thought the Void character was pretty cool, particularly how he would turn people into shadows.
Yeah.
By the way, did you know that is based on the human shadow etched in stone?
No.
From the Hiroshima bombings?
Oh, God, no. That's horrible.
So I'm assuming most of you have seen this picture of the shadow that's etched in stone.
Yeah.
The picture is titled The Human Shadow Etched in Stone.
Yeah, it's nightmare fuel.
Yeah. Apparently there was someone sitting on some stone steps outside of the Sumitomo Bank. And when the bomb dropped, the heat just vaporized this individual and etched their shadow into stone. That is where the idea of the Void superpowers came from, the Hiroshima bombings. And obviously the bombings were terrible, but I thought that aspect of the film was really cool, the way that was shown. I thought it was really, really cool, and it worked for me.
Yeah, to Dawson's point, this movie does kind of feel like it's skirting the line between its current rating and like a rated R movie. Had they leaned into it a little bit more, it's echoing some elements from The Boys, that DeFontaine's character definitely has some Vought vibes to it.
Yeah, for sure.
What did you guys think of Julia Louis-Dreyfus in this film?
I think like this character could have been played by just about anybody. Pretty standard.
I think you're right.
Is Void the antagonist? Is she the antagonist? Of course, she's the real antagonist. She's manipulating on every angle that she can, up to and including her taking credit for the formation of the Thunderbolts / the New Avengers.
Julia Louis-Dreyfus is one of my favorite actresses alive, largely because of Seinfeld. She was brilliant in Seinfeld. That, in my opinion, is the greatest comedy to ever run on television.
Yeah, fair enough.
Love Seinfeld. There's nothing at this point that she can do that will cause me not to like her. By the way, she's a great human being. I hear she's just a wonderful person, but I was a little bummed to see her in this. I don't want to see her play a part that's just blah, and she was just blah.
Yeah.
I mean, not her.
Yeah.
It's just her part. Like, what she was asked to do was blah. And kind of bummed me out a little bit to see her here.
And that's a character archetype that we've seen in Marvel time and time again.
So what is your favorite part of Thunderbolts? Where is this movie the strongest?
The unexpected outcome of, you take all these characters that have difficult pasts, and again, they're characters from TV shows that people either don't remember at this point or didn't watch in the first place. You know, John Walker is kind of this a-hole Captain America type. Ghost, who was from Ant-Man and the Wasp, was kind of a throwaway character that we haven't heard anything about. Taskmaster, who obviously was disposed of early on in the film. You got Bucky, you got Yelena, who's the strongest character in this by a long shot. But so you've got two washed-up super soldiers. You've got an assassin that might be the most affected by the events as seen in prior MCU films. And then you've got Bucky, who's this kind of connective tissue between all of this. If you'd have said, hey, this is the idea for this movie, we're going to put all these characters in a room together and somehow make their chemistry work, I would have been like, that's nuts, that's crazy. Like, it just doesn't work. But to me, it does. They had good chemistry. They're all talented actors. And for me, I think Florence Pugh always seems human in her scenes. She slips into any situation effortlessly. She's slightly aloof because of what she's going through, but she's also confident, and she really surprised me in this, not because of Florence Pugh. She's great in everything I've seen her in, but particularly for a contemporary Marvel movie after so many misfires and failures, I was surprised that it came together in the way that it did.
I would say my favorite part is the first 15 minutes of the movie with Yelena, like Jordan said. She's so funny. It was like entertaining, and it's a kind of humor I feel like we don't normally see in Marvel movies. Maybe Deadpool is like the only comparison. She's very honest. She's very human. She's very funny, but in kind of a sarcastic, like, well, whatever tone.
Yeah.
And so I think that was my favorite part. I think
If I had to pick a favorite scene, I think it would be when they all go underground to that one place and they're all hired to kill different people. It's almost like a Reservoir Dogs where they all have the guns pointed at each other. Yeah, I thought that was fun.
Yeah, it was a good setup.
So let me ask you guys this question. Martin Scorsese, the beloved Martin Scorsese, by the way, he is on our Faster Film Critic Mount Rushmore. That
That's
Martin
right.
Scorsese. He said, Marvel movies aren't cinema. And he compared them to theme parks rather than films that convey human emotion and human experiences. Tarantino has said, yes, Quentin Tarantino, also on our Faster Film Critic Mount Rushmore, has said that Marvel has changed the landscape of Hollywood and that actors are becoming famous for playing these characters in the franchise rather than becoming individual movie stars. In other words, the actors in this film aren't movie stars. It's the characters that are the movie stars.
Yeah.
What's your opinion on this? Do you guys agree with this or do you guys disagree with this?
Largely, I do. They feel overly engineered, almost like too perfect. Like they know right where to put a funny joke. They know right where to put a heartfelt moment, an action.
Yeah, it's a formula.
Yeah, it's a formula, and you can feel all the different hands that went into it to where it doesn't feel personal at all anymore. They know which buttons to push, but all of these scenes, even though they fit together like in a nice way, there's not enough emotional buildup. If you want a good joke to land, you need to have a nice setup before, right? Or like an emotional punch, you need a nice setup. Instead of just going like this movie does from a funny pun from David Harbour to talks about suicide and how to deal with that and loneliness, and it just doesn't hit the way it should.
I think every movie has its place and its purpose. I love the Fast and Furious movies. I don't walk into a Fast and Furious movie being like, I'm about to understand the meaning of life and call my grandma. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not. But I like to watch cars explode. Right. Exactly. And so I feel like, I don't know, I feel like every movie has its place. If all there were in the whole world were like really powerful moving Sundance indie movies, I think we would be missing out on things. You know what I mean? And I feel the same way. If every movie was a Marvel movie, I'd be like, okay, I'm kind of bored. So I feel like everything has its place. And I think some of it is that there was so much content put out. You said like this is like the 36th movie, right?
Yeah.
And then there's so many TV shows and spin-offs and things like that that you have to follow all of it to get all of their different stories. I think going into this movie, having watched Black Widow, having watched the Disney Plus shows that all these characters relate to, having watched all the random little side things and then seeing them together, I think it helps understand their background a little bit more. I think when they're having conversations, you know the 12 hours of footage you have to see to like understand the weight of those conversations and things like that. And so I think it helps, but I think it is almost kind of like an accessibility issue of in order to really like be invested in all of these different characters, you have to have this whole backlog of things to get it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I got 3 points, and I'll try to make them quick. One, I think there's a little bit of Tarantino and Scorsese had their times in which their movies were immensely popular. They'll always be appreciated by the right audiences, but I think there's a little bit of like maybe disdain for, hey, audiences are not paying attention to these kind of movies anymore. They're paying attention to these kind of movies. And I think naturally they just don't like that. I think that's should be considered with opinions like that. Two, trends of movies and what audiences flock to and what kinds of movies production companies and studios focus on largely depend on trends and what people are interested in. You've your sci-fi era of 80s and going into the 90s. You've got your cult films of the 70s. Now you've got your superhero films. That's starting to look like it's starting to go away, and it's gravitating towards video game movies. So there is a cycle of these things. A certain genre of movies become popular for a while, westerns in the 60s or whatever. You get my point. And third, the movie star itself has not been a thing for a good 20, 30 years. People are not going to a movie necessarily these days to see so-and-so. Maybe outside of Tom Cruise, something like that, where it's like, oh, he's done a new Top Gun movie or Mission Impossible. There are no movie stars anymore. In other words, people used to go to the movies back in the day to go, oh, I want to go see the Marlon Brando movie. That's just not a thing anymore. And things change, time change. These are both kind of aging directors. And I think there's a little bit of that curmudgeonly, Marvel movies are all crap. It's just superheroes in their undies running around with shooting their powers. Like, shut up. There's still some good things in that. I still would make the argument that movies like this, hey man, this is what the movie theaters are for. It's supposed to be an experience that's otherworldly with things that just don't happen in real life. Their movies are largely the opposite, stylized kind of versions of things that do happen in real life. There's nothing wrong with either. The more variety we get, whether it's big blockbusters or quiet independent films that are really emotionally impactful, you need all of these things. If you open up a box of crayons and all you get is red and green and blue, that's boring. I want the biggest box of crayons, and I want all the colors. I want it, again, like music. Sometimes I'm in the mood for this kind of movie. Sometimes I'm in the mood for that kind of movie, man. So I think it's a little silly, that argument, to be honest.
So I would say there isn't a single Marvel movie that is anywhere close to the quality of a Scorsese movie or a Quentin Tarantino movie. That said, I absolutely disagree with these statements by Martin Scorsese and Quentin Tarantino. I think not only are they wrong, but I think they're belittling and divisive.
Yes. Sure.
I don't like Marvel. I have made that abundantly clear.
Yes.
But as I sat in the theater and I watched this group of older guys in the row next to me stand up and cheer, they were into it and they loved it. The movie theater was full. Marvel draws people into the movie theater. And I think that is so important. Just because I don't like Marvel doesn't mean that Marvel isn't cinema, and it doesn't mean that it shouldn't exist. So I absolutely agree with everything you guys are saying. I love that Marvel exists, and I love that people love Marvel, and I love that people go to the movie theater and have a good time, even if the movies aren't exactly what I want. Not everything is made for me. In fact, most things aren't made for me, and that is a good thing. So despite my negativity, I'm glad this movie exists. I'm glad this universe exists.
Yeah, me too. I was listening to an interview with Paul Thomas Anderson, who I think is probably one of the most particular and artful directors alive right now. Like, his movies are amazing, and he's keeping that same craft, a lot like Robert Altman from like 70s, 80s, 90s.
Yeah.
And he talks about when he went to film school. I think he went on his first day. He walked in, and the teacher said, if you're here to make Terminator 2, you can leave right now. and he left. And that is the exact opposite of like the movie that he would make. But he's like, there is a place for that movie. Like, I'm not going to listen to a teacher who doesn't think that there's a place for that.
Yeah.
So, as you well know, there are 6 phases of Marvel. And Thunderbolts ended Phase 5. We are now entering Phase 6 with the Fantastic Four.
Wait, what are the phases? I didn't even know this.
Yeah.
Phase 1 through 3 is referred to as the Infinity Saga.
Right.
Phases 4 through 6 is known as the Multiverse Saga.
For the garbage
Phase
saga.
6 starts with the Fantastic Four, coming later this year in 2025, and it will continue through 2027.
It's never going to die.
Do you think there'll be a Phase 7? Right now, there's no 7 announced. It will end after Phase 6 in 2027.
This is all going to depend on return on investment. This is all going to depend on box office stuff. We're already starting to see some trends change. Deadpool and Wolverine was a massive hit, but it was an outlier in a bunch of stinkers, both critically and financially. And I think they've realized that, and they decided to either turn it back to the formula that was a little bit more successful and more appealing to audiences, but it's going to take 3-4 hits, well-received movies, at least by critics and audiences, for them to kind of keep this momentum going, because you're wringing out a rag that eventually is going to go dry. We just talked about, there are trends in Hollywood. This one has been a particularly impressive one, but the video game adaptations, they're coming, and they're going to start really challenging. So it'll be curious to see how Fantastic Four and Superman does this summer, and that's going to be really telling us to whether or not studios pivot or they keep doubling down with this.
So I'm hearing rumors that there is a Phase 7 coming, and it is going to be the Mutant Saga.
So you guys are familiar that they're going to be doing a Avengers Doomsday, and then a Secret Wars?
Yep.
Yeah. So it's all tied to the comics, as the MCU loosely is. It's not portraying things as completely accurate to the comics, but close enough. So Doomsday is going to incorporate the X-Men in one world, one reality, one universe, and they're going to do this multiverse thing, which I'm over. Probably the new Avengers, they're probably going to bring back some of the older Avengers as nostalgia bait for audiences. And then Secret Wars, which is going to be God knows what. It's I don't know if you guys saw the announcement for Doomsday, but it's like 500 characters being mixed into this new film with Robert Downey Jr. coming back to play Dr. Doom. Head scratcher.
Dude, people were losing their minds over that, by the way.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Losing their minds.
Yeah. I think time will tell, man, whether people are truly burnt out on this stuff. Jordan, as you always say, man, if you don't like something that we do, you're always like, great, I'm glad you enjoyed it. I feel the same way. But there's a sentiment out there that's kind of anti-Marvel, has been for a while. So it'll be interesting to see where things go.
Well, I think we're going to get a Phase 7, and I think it's going to continue for a while. I think we are nowhere near the end of the MCU. Well, having said that, let's go ahead and rate this film on a scale of 1 to 5. What'd you guys think of Thunderbolts?
I'm giving it 4 out of 5. I liked it more than the usual.
I did too. I'm going to give it a 3 stars, which is very surprising.
That's good
me.
for you. That's high from you.
Yeah. This might have been received as mediocre, I think, 8 or 10 years ago. But I think after the slop that we've been getting, this serves as a bit of a shot in the arm, a much-needed shot in the arm. The sentiment was laid on a little thick here and there, but I still found it to be a refreshing approach. They were tackling something that I could relate to, and I think most people can relate to, mental health issues and things like that. So I kind of related to a lot of what the characters were going through in a superficial way, if nothing else. But I thought Florence Pugh was great. She was enough to carry this movie. I'm actually excited to see where this group of characters goes. I landed at a 3.5 for this.
I'm a tough critic when it comes to the MCU. You guys know this.
Yes.
Typically, I just default to a 2 on just about everything. But I do think that The Thunderbolts was better than some of the other movies in this franchise that we've received lately. For that, I'm going to give it a 0.5 star bump. I'm going 2.5.
Okay.
But it's Marvel. So that's kind of my ceiling at this point in time.
It's Marvel.
But MCU fans don't care what I think. We want to know, what did you think of Thunderbolts? Please tell us.
Okay, if you're a fan of Thunderbolts, or if you're looking for something that's a little bit more stylish and a little bit more mysterious, I'm going to recommend the Disney Plus TV show WandaVision. It's directed by Matt Shakman and is my favorite Marvel project ever. It stars Wanda, Vision, and everything that goes on in between. There's a lot of mystery and a lot of fun. He's also directing the new Fantastic Four movie that comes out this July. So watch WandaVision. If you love it, make sure to watch Fantastic Four when it comes out in a couple months.
Thank you for listening, and Faster Film Critic will return next week for the review of Brian De Palma's 1997 action classic, Mission Impossible. You can also follow us on Letterboxd, Cinetrack, and Instagram. Email us at fasterfilmcritic@gmail.com. Hit us up with questions, comments, feedback, or review requests, and please share this episode with your movie-loving friends.